Hello and welcome to CSRlive. Today we have with us Shweta Chari, founder and CEO of Toybank, an NGO that has been bringing smiles on thousands of deprived little faces well over a decade by taking toys from those that can give and distributing them to the ones in need. Shweta, thank you so much for joining us for this chat today.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us, Shweta, as of 2016, Toybank has reached over 1 lakh children with the help of 1,500 volunteers around India in the past 11 years. What were the biggest challenges that you faced in achieving these milestones?
So that's a really good question because when we started out in the beginning, the whole concept of play was not really understood by a lot of people. And in India, like we're talking about so many kinds of problems, play wasn't ever taken as one of those top priorities in the process of change. So it took us a while to convince people, not just the toy donors or general volunteers, but strangely enough, even the NGO partners, to make them understand the relevance of play in behavioral changes and mental growth. So that took us a little bit of a time. But having said that, over the few years that we've been working now, we've got a wait list of organizations wanting Toybank to set up libraries now inside their premises. So that was the initial hiccup. The second thing, of course, was I started this when I was 21. We all were, most of us, like my friends who joined me in this whole movement, as we say so, we're all engineers. We're all engineers. And so it was always difficult to put aside your professional so-called career that could potentially be something that you would take on at that age and make this choice of wanting to do something for social good. And then in the middle of it all, I had to balance both the things, like holding a job as well as doing this. So those were very difficult but exciting days. Luckily, we were all young, mad, crazy. So in that madness, you don't really realize the amount of work we end up doing. So those were fun stuff, had its own challenges. But step by step now, over the last decade, we have also matured as individually and as an organization. We are very clear about what we want to do. That has its own other challenges now because we've grown. Like you said, the numbers, we are now reaching out many, many more kids. So the challenge is to sustain the work and to keep doing it well, consistently, scale up, have better plans, have more structure, have better team members. Now we're not just volunteers, we're all like properly got a team to run the show. So it's got its own challenges as you grow.
Great. It was interesting when I read that Toybank has a strict policy regarding toys that it accepts, debarring any toys that promote violence like guns and swords, and also Barbie dolls are barred from your collection points. Tell us more about this.
Yes, so to give you a very quick example, earlier on in the first year of Toybank, we used to take everything that people gave us. So the model is that we raise a lot of toys in kind by kids who go to good schools or parents or however, corporate offices, schools and colleges. And these toys are recycled, made as good as new, sterilized, all the things that we need to do in the back end, and they're redistributed. That's one of our core models at Toybank. So in the first year, we used to receive everything because we were excited, people were excited, everybody knew, oh, you're doing Toybank, I'll give you toys. So we used to get all these Diwali guns and different kinds of toys. So one time we went for a distribution event and, many times we asked these kids, ki, bade bankar kya banna chahte? What do you want to do when you grow up? And many of the kids came up and said, mujhe police banna hai. There are a lot of bad elements in my locality. I want to put them behind the jail. I want to become a cop. So we used to give guns at that time, thinking it's like a toy gun. And then one of the kids came up and said, before we could even ask him, he said, mujhe bade bankar gunda banna hai. Mujhe gun do. I want to grow up and become a goon. So, and demanding for the gun. So then we realized, like a simple toy can be such a massive make or break for the child's psyche. His perception, his world around him defines a lot of who he's going to become as he grows up. And there was like one shaking point for us. And this was luckily which happened within the first year in 2004 when we were also very young. And so that's one of the massive lessons we realized over the last few years. It's very important to curate and give good, correct, morally correct games and toys to the kids. Now with Barbie dolls, I mean, all of us are kind of aware of the studies that have gone behind this. A lot of the girls, see, particularly the kids that we work with, may or may not have guardians to tell them what's right from wrong, may not be having people around them to kind of nurture them, to give them values of life. So they're kind of growing up really wildly by themselves. Now, particularly for these little girls, they feel if they don't grow up to look like a Barbie, to have that figure, to have that beauty, then they are a complete misfit. And they grow up with very, very deep complexes, which are very detrimental in their adulthood years. And a simple toy can do that. And most importantly, Nidhi, one of the things is, if a doll can have a house, fancy bedroom, fancy house, fancy kitchen, and you're working with kids sometimes who may or may not have roofs on their heads, how is this even fair? It's a complete lifestyle mismatch. So we're very careful in what we give to these kids, and we make sure it's very neutral, generic games that will only help them build and not make them complex as human beings as they grow up. So these are some of the philosophies or thoughts behind what kind of stuff we give to our kids. And we also know we're very careful, chalta hai, something is better than nothing. Those kinds of things it's a big no-no, because either you do it right all the way or you just don't do it. Because it doesn't make sense if you give a dented car or like a 100-piece puzzle which has only 80 pieces in it. What sense does it make to give it to a child? I mean, you give something, what you give to your own kid, you give to these kids. I mean, you want them to feel good, and the whole idea is to make these kids feel wanted, feel loved, feel cared. That is the one thing which is missing in their lives, and play does that for them. So, might as well do it right. So, that's how we function.
Shweta, some of the toys collected by Toybank are also being used as teaching aids at some of the community centers which are affiliated with your NGO. So tell us more about how Toybank's toys are becoming an aid to the education experience or the learning experience of children.
Yeah, that's a superb model of ours. So over the years, we started first in the distribution where we wanted to give the like toys which have emotional value. So like soft toys or vehicular toys, and these are toys that kids will make into friends. So they'll give it a name, they will hold on to it, they'll sleep with it in the night. It's like an emotional connect, and children get calmer as their their anger levels reduce, their mental ability to understand situations better. Those things happen through emotional value toys. Then over the course of time, we were getting a lot of fabulous educational board games. Now you can't really give like a Scrabble or like a Monopoly, Game of Life, Abalone, like games like this. You can't really give in a distribution and expect the child to go home and play with. Like, he's not going to understand how to play with these games. And they're typically first generation learners of English. So it's not their greatest strength, English language. So then we started assessing. So we started doing a pre-assessment of the kids that we work with. And we understood their levels of various levels, not just academic, but behavioral as well. So we kind of started seeing what is the background of these kids. Have they run away from home? Why have they run away from home? Do they have parents? Some of them are in shelter homes. They've done something wrong. So, they're in remand homes. They're little kids at the end of the day. So they are like blotting paper. So they become what they see. So we are very careful in what kind of board games, therefore, we should give to these kids so that it stimulates their minds in a certain way to help them do or get better at whatever it is that they're doing. So when we work with government schools, we give away academic-oriented board games. So games that teach maths, sciences, English language. Over and above this, all the games that we gave are highly curated to make sure that life skills is something which is like really understood through these play sessions that Toybank conducts. So games that have, life value lessons, moral sciences, good habits, bad habits, hygiene. Even like sometimes we go to the extent of getting these kids only to, come up with coin their own priorities. Like in terms of, academic studies. Yes, I'm doing poorly in math. How do I increase my interest in math? So we won't just put like a math subject in front of them. We'll probably get, let's say, a game of, there's a game called calculus. Very simply, the kid learns basic arithmetic, basic addition, subtraction, algebra. There's lots of interesting games that teach these kids, but it's done in a very subtle way without them even realizing that this is मैं पढ़ रहा हूँ. It should not be like knocked down in the air that I'm studying. But it's happening in a very, very subtle way where these kids are therefore able to calculate faster, are able to, correlate it to their studies, to their subjects. If their interest in English is less because they're scared of the language, then by playing alphabetical games, there are board games where you can read out stories and it's a puzzle piece. So you're actually playing a puzzle and you're reading out stories, and in the whole process you're reading English. So step by step, they're able to actually reduce the stress or the fear they may have built or around that subject. So things like this, we highly curate these games for our kids. So that's how we impart. So what Toybank does now is, from distribution, while that happens, we set up game libraries. So our model revolves around collaborating with other NGOs. We don't house up kids of our own. We have roughly, like you said earlier, 288 centers. Now, these are centers that actually belong to our NGO partners. And their premises within these NGOs, they provide play space. And what Toybank does is nicely stocks them up with fabulous games, even toys, and where these kids come every day and have a play session. We have field officers from Toybank who go every week to all these centers and ensure that board games are being played with. Teachers are trained. These teachers are also first generation learners themselves, and they're completely not familiar with using board games to teach these kids. So we do a train the trainer model. We conduct power of play workshops where teachers and children and volunteers get together and learn these games. The games are so beautiful. We've actually lost touch. Even the rich kids, even like the coming from privileged homes, they're all getting into video games. There's nothing wrong with that, but there is so much value in sitting down and playing these old school fashioned board games that actually stimulate the mind and can teach so many lessons to us. So we're trying to get that going. So we have many of our privileged kids from schools who come and actually teach some of these kids at our centers on how to play these games. And the whole process actually impacting both sets of kids, because everybody's understanding the relevance of using these board games and learning different things. So that's really the model that now we are following at all our centers.
Certainly an excellent extension of your scope of activities. Very commendable.
Thanks.
Okay, so tell me, you're doing such a great job. How generous has corporate India been, in supporting Toybank, and what kind of support would you ideally want at this stage in your NGO, so that you can scale up your scope of operations and scale up your impact?
It's a really good question. So we've actually got some very good corporate response. As a model, we are about 12 of us in the team. That's it. But our extended team members are actually volunteers. And most of these volunteers come from corporates. So the corporations actually, whoever we've collaborated, the first step in is actually getting their employees to volunteer with us. That's typically how we work. And we encourage this because, so how it happens is, a lot of the corporations get in touch with us. They say, what can we do for you? So initially, the easiest thing for everybody to do is do a collection drive, donate their toys. Now, an extension of this, we tell the corporate employees that don't just give us your toys, give us your time. Come and spend some time with the kids, be a part of the distribution, see where it's going, get a sense of what's going on. Because unless you dip yourself into this world, you will only presume things. You will only say, oh, I gave my toys, but I don't know where it went. So then be a part of the whole giving process as well. Physically come to our centers and distribute these toys. So how we do it with the corporations is, typically they send their volunteers, the employees, and they become toy bankers with us. So we've got about 1,500 odd toy bankers spread across. And these are people who could be school students, college students, and corporate employees. So we've got a good response in that sense. What we're looking is, which is very important for us now, is while we've got a massive reach, we are almost reaching out of 40,000 kids through our centers or every week. Like, these are kids who are accessing our libraries now on a weekly basis. So, and we want to deepen the impact of the work we're doing. While we're looking at scaling somewhere get ticked. Because those are the first things as Indians. Even now, if you see this whole job, everybody's doing like this one day serving food, doing seva. But what happens the next day? So for me personally, to think there has to be consistency, and if you can, it's like teaching the child or the man fishing versus just giving him fish for that one day. So I really believe that play can do that and can help children grow up to taking better, stronger decisions, life choices, making better life choices. So they are actually able to, get themselves proper jobs and do things which is more sustainable even for the rest of their lives. So it starts from play as far as I'm concerned. So we're looking at anchor funders, corporate backup that can understand how can we collaborate to deepen the work that Toybank is doing at the existing centers and also scale up to new geographies, new places. So that's the kind of effort we're looking at. And also, like I said, biggest thing is the volunteering support. So step number one, we encourage all the corporate guys to get involved with our work, be a part of the process of change physically. It's not rocket science. It's so simple. You're working with kids and you're using play as a medium. Now, what can go wrong in that? So it's really very simple.
A constant complaint of companies these days, especially first-time CSR spenders, is that they are unable to find credible NGOs with an ability to scale up. So, how do you address this concern when you reach out to corporates for funding? And secondly, what is your ideal corporate partner look like?
Great. So, I would say that it's not just enough to dole out the money and expect the NGOs to kind of churn it, make it work, make it like report kind of a thing. It is important, of course, because I understand that there's a lot of things on the plate for corporates as well with business and things like that. But with these times, with CSRs and teams dedicatedly working with NGOs from the corporates side, I think it's crucial for a stronger corporate engagement with the NGOs. Because see, most of us are passionate. I can talk for myself. I've taken this up. I quit my corporate job now in 2009 so roughly from 2010 onward, I've been full-time driving Toybank. First couple of years, there was no salary as well. I used up my savings. So all of us are like, I think I lost my screw some years ago. So in a way, it's a good thing because you have to be crazy to do these things. And I think I was really, really mad at that time. So I'm glad about it because most of us are driven by passion. I may not have been officially or formally taught management skills, financial ability, all of those things. We're doing this. We're doing report writing. We're very tight with Toybank as an organization particularly we're very lucky to have very strong trustees, advisors. We've got somebody for something. Like we've got the ex-CEO of a massive corporate foundation who sits as a trustee. So he looks after the back end finances. So we've got luckily key people to help us with key aspects of the organization so that my passion can be driven to scale the organization, to deepen the work and all of that. Having said that, it would be great for corporations to get a bit more involved, to participate in the events, to visit the centers, to be a part of our play sessions. So for us, an ideal corporate funding or anchor funder would be all of these things where they would not just tell us, okay, here's X number of amount of money. What are you going to do? Send me reports. Rather, can we collaborate and work together? And while we do the work, while we know where we're going to scale up, while we know our kids, while we know our projects well, but it's great to always have volunteer support from these corporations. Get them for weekend volunteering, couple of hours every week is not going to hurt. And that way, we will be deepening the impact not just for the kids we're working with, but for the individuals behind the scenes also who will be doing things for the first time. Many of them are first-time volunteers. But the impact it has for them, and generally, therefore, for the society at large, it's massive. I think it's very easy to drink a cup of chai and gossip and crib about the systems. Unless you kind of become a part of the system and part of the change, we'll never be able to change society at large. And I'm saying this in general for the world. So I personally believe that I owe this to this world. I mean, as an individual, we belong to this world. So can we do something in return for everything else that we're getting from it? And that is the onus that's put on all of us as human beings. So, whether if this kind of philosophy is brought down from the level makes it easier for smaller organizations like us to get a larger force to drive permanent change. And as an organization, we don't want to become like a 100, 200 army NGO. I mean, what is the point? I mean, then we'll be, stressing about the back-end operation systems, team management, and maybe running it as a corporate then. This is driven solely by the love of the cause, from our heart. We are passionate. We've got our systems together. We've got structures together. We are a small team, but it'd be great for like these anchor funders to therefore get involved, complement us. Don't just scrutinize us for the sake of scrutiny and what is going wrong. Scrutinize us to the extent that you can offer us help to make us better, make us stronger. And I think together we'll be able to drive double, triple the impact versus us hiring 100 people, 200 people and, okay, we'll cater to you, we'll cater to you. Also, the other thing is, as an organization, Toybank, one thing which I really want to put out there is our operations and admin expenses are bare minimum. Like it costs 250 rupees per year to reach out to one child through play. So on an average, we have roughly 100 kids at every center. So in like 25,000 bucks, you've reached out 100 kids in a year. I mean, it's as robust a model as it can be. It's very, very tight. Our team size, like I said, is very small. And therefore, our expenses on admin operations is very less. Much of the work happens in the field with our kids. So it's really like a tailor-made model in that sense, very simple for people to pick up and become anchor funders to specific centers or new centers that we will scale up into. So it's just like a collaboration. Let's work hand in hand. And as an organization, we encourage that. So far, all the corporates that have worked with us, we've got some big guys who backed us up now for the last 4 or 5 years, and we've been running ourselves thanks to that kind of support we've got. We're looking for more of such support. We're looking at like 2 or 3 key anchor funders who can take our projects up and help us deepen the work. That's the kind of effort we're looking at from corporations.
Shweta, I really appreciate you sharing a wonderful story of how Toybank came into being and the amazing values that go into making this organization what it is today. And we wish you all the very best.
Thank you, Nidhi. One little ethos I would like to leave at the end is, there's this line we believe in, it is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. And I think it's a very powerful line, especially in the current times we're living in. And we at Toybank believe that we can actually do this through play. I mean, kids need that. So we will really build stronger people. But the medium is so simple, it's play. And it's happening. We've witnessed amazing impact of the work we're doing, which is why we want to keep doing more and more. So, I mean, thank you for the time and for all these wonderful questions. I'm glad I got an opportunity to at least put all of this across for people to see.